All right, let's begin with the brass tacks first. Explosive details have been accessed by your channel CNN News 18. Let's quickly take you through what we've discovered so far. Adil and Muzammil, both the doctors, traveled to Turkey to meet their handler. Probe agencies will now be looking to find out who was this handler. The handler arranged Muzammil and Adil's stay in Turkey. The handler arranged their stay and their movement as well in Turkey. Remember, probe agencies have gone through their passports and have discovered. And Dr. Omar Nabi also traveled to Turkey. The handler instructed the module to spread terrorism in India, which is why the national capital was the key target. Faridabad, Saharanpur, all were wrecked. Look at this. The locations span all the way from Jammu and Kashmir, going all the way to Faridabad, Saharanpur. Even Lucknow has now come under the scanner. Women doctors from Srinagar and Anantnag coordinated the logistics. So this is another key aspect which cannot be missed out so far, the role that these women doctors have played. Not to forget, one of the prime accused is Dr. Shaheen from Lucknow. Doctors discussed the movement of funds and safe houses. You're also looking at remittances coming in from Turkey and Doha. One doctor received remittances from Istanbul and Doha between the year 2023 and 2024. Women doctors cleared their MBBS from Dhaka Medical College. So here's another connection of Bangladesh coming into the picture. Women doctors came in contact with Maulvi Irfan, who, remember, is the kingpin because he's the man who brainwashed these doctors during their internship in Srinagar. This is when Irfan established contact with the doctors. Digital forensics show over 400 encrypted chats were exchanged. Remember, Telegram has also played an important role. At the same time, various chatbots were created. They were all deleted. And here on CNN News 18, we will keep bringing you all the latest details. Let's quickly go across to Arunima, who's been tracking all the latest developments for us. Arunima, as we know that the entire investigation is now being handed over to the NIA, what are those key factors that are now indicating that this entire blast was perhaps a premature blast, and what are those unanswered questions that the NIA will be looking to find answers to? Arunima, now that NIA has been handed over the entire investigation, what are those key unanswered questions, the answers that the NIA will be looking to find?
The foremost question will be who all are part of this module. They have arrested a few people, but the suspicion is that this module has not been exposed fully. Why they say that is because the Telegram chat, we've just brought for our viewers details of two Telegram groups. One which is apparently being labeled a pan-India terror group, another one which is reportedly handled from Pakistan. Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist is the admin of that group. Both these Telegram groups had a number of medical professionals as their members, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Umar, the Shopian's Maulvi. They were all part of that Telegram group. But who else is part of that group? That is still a matter of investigation. Secondly, this visit to Turkey, what we are learning is that after joining this Telegram group, the handler who goes by the name of Ukasa, he called them to Turkey, met Dr. Umar and Dr. Muzammil in Turkey and gave them more instructions. The idea was to spread terror across India, not limited to Kashmir alone. And that is why Saharanpur, Faridabad and these other areas were picked up. That is the preliminary information that has been gathered. So who is this handler? What is the role that he was playing? How much of the module is already known? Who else is part of this module? All of these are key questions for NIA.
It's interesting that you highlight that this handler from Turkey is going by the name of Ukasa. Share with us how all the details that have emerged so far in this entire investigation in the nascent stage yet indicate that this is very much a transnational terror module that India is looking at, one that spans all the way from Turkey and with doctors even having gained their degree from Bangladesh.
the biggest worry because, you know, so far you were only looking at terrorism which was limited to Jammu and Kashmir, and there was a trajectory that was followed there. You saw how the line of control and the international border was being monitored to prevent terrorists from entering. But this is homegrown terror staring in the face of India's establishment. The first time since 2011, when the Delhi High Court blast happened, is Delhi seeing this kind of a blast. And this is quite worrying if, you know, doctors, medical professionals, white-collar workers are getting radicalized to the extent my sources tell us that, you know, the Telegram chats initially began with the usual sentiments that you hear in Kashmir. Sentiments about Azadi, sentiments about how some Kashmiris feel that they are being unfairly treated. But it soon changed. The tone and tenor of these chats soon changed into a pan-India, you know, justice for Muslims, you know, pan-Islamic kind of an agenda. Something that terrorist groups in the past, Ansarul Jawahideen, also Indian Mujahideen, they've all followed in the past. So this homegrown terror, where highly educated, well-to-do professionals are now, you know, willing to risk their lives, willing to risk the well-being of their family members. That's a huge worry.
You know, and since we're discussing how this is a transnational terror module that one is looking at the same time, the role that female doctors have been playing. Dr. Shaheen, hailing from Lucknow, in love with a doctor, purportedly in love with a doctor hailing from Pulwama. You're looking at more angles of lady doctors, but how is the role of lady doctors being probed? A, B, the radicalization of these, the youth, especially when you're looking at doctors, you're looking at the white collar terror module as well.
So let me take you back to Kashmir. If you speak to any investigating officer or any intelligence officer in Kashmir, they would tell you that women there, especially mothers, have a huge role to play. You know, often when policemen want a terrorist to surrender at an encounter site, their mothers are brought to the spot because Kashmiri men, Kashmiri youngsters, boys often listen to the advice of their mother. So the role of the mother, the role of the woman has for long, Jaish-e-Mohammed has wanted to tap into that, knowing very well that the mother in the family or the woman in the family manages to brainwash the children or the rest of the family in a way that nobody else can. And I think in this case, what we are seeing is that this is being implemented in a different way altogether, where the radicalization project is, you know, taking care of women who are not just women, who are doctors, who are well-qualified professionals, using them to recruit more people, using them to radicalize more and more people for Jaish-e-Mohammed's cause. This is not a new project, but the way it is unfolding in this doctor's module is definitely worrying.
Absolutely, it is indeed. And take us through all of those factors that are now indicating that this could be a premature blast, Arunima. Many are saying that there is an absence of shrapnels, of other bomb-making paraphernalia, which is usually discovered in IED blasts, but that's not the case here.
Yes, so the preliminary assessment seems to be that once the Faridabad module was exposed, Dr. Muzammil was arrested, the entire cache of explosives was captured by the Faridabad police and Jammu and Kashmir police also. Dr. Umar panicked. And, you know, we are told, and this is news that we have, that the mobile towers in and around Red Fort, their dumps are being taken and analyzed to see who all, you know, Dr. Umar spoke to while he was in that parking lot. All technical investigations all kinds have been mounted to see whether the same handler who was part of the Telegram group in any way got in touch with Dr. Umar. Was he given instructions to carry out this blast outside Red Fort, or did he just panic? Was he just trying to flee, and in panic he was just trying to get off and dispose of with the explosive? So there are these two theories on which the investigators are working upon. Ammonium nitrate is a low-grade explosive, but what we saw on ground, that Jain Digambar Mandir, third floor of it, was still strewn with human remains, and forensic team was picking that up. Now that temple is about 500 meters from the actual position where the blast happened. Ammonium nitrate, specialists tell us, does not have that kind of explosion capacity that human remains can be flung so far away. That is leading to the suspicion that perhaps a military grade explosive was used Could it be PETN? Could it be RDX? We'll have to wait for the forensic analysis. But that potent combination and the overall assessment of the situation is leading investigators to believe that this was not a well-planned operation. This was executed in panic after the Faridabad doctors were arrested and the module exposed.
Yeah, Arunima, let me quickly bring in our guest also on the broadcast. I'm joined in by retired Major General K.K. Sinha, who's also a defense expert. Many thanks to you, Major General Sinha, for joining in. A handler based in Turkey was giving directions to the two doctors who also traveled to Turkey. That's one link that's emerged. One of the other doctors, in fact, managed a degree from Bangladesh. You're also looking at foreign remittances coming in from Doha and Istanbul. What is your assessment of this kind of transnational terror module angle that's now coming to the forefront, Major General Sinha?
Jai Hind and good afternoon. You are asking regarding the assessment of transnational, these modules and the linkages with this terror activities. Yeah, of course. What you are bringing out, these doctors, generally, one doctor, if you say, on the face value, what we got it from Gujarat, Ahmedabad, who was working on ricin poisoning. He got his medical degree from China. Now you bring it out that, this model, Faridabad model, is the model Al-Falah University itself is getting funding because it's a private university. From all middle, West Asian countries, it's getting a huge amount of funding from there. So the linkages, and now you have also brought it out, I think, in Telegram, the two chat groups. One of that, where these two doctors, I think Adil and Mujammil, they have traveled over there. They had linkages. They were in contact with them. So basically, the mastermind or their handlers were based on these countries. And Turkey's involvement in Bangladesh, Turkey's involvement in Pakistan, and Turkey's involvement in the Middle East. Now, Turkey, especially, is getting a lot of encouragement from United States of America also. Because
having said that, Major General Sinha, important to also highlight, even though there is the probe is still on, and we are yet to stumble upon some concrete evidence with Pakistan linkages. But the fact of the matter is that we are very much looking at this new axis of resistance that India is currently confronted by, whether it is Turkey, whether it is Bangladesh. Not to forget, the doctor hailing from Hyderabad was also brainwashed by handlers involved with the ISKP.
You are absolutely correct. See, the thing is, first we have to look within. See, what is this module saying, which have got linkages not at one place. It is not in Jammu and Kashmir, but in Saharanpur. It gets into, many cities around UP. It is also in Haryana you are getting it. You are getting in Hyderabad. And if you will go further deep, you will find that, from up till now, we have not come to know from where this ammonium nitrate has come.
True.
See, 3 tons of them. It just can't be brought in one go. It is not easy to procure things like this. It has to be in very small consignment it comes. And it has gone. So it is happening from, for a very long period. Dr.
Major General Sinha, do you think that the role of the Al-Falah University and perhaps the chemistry lab there could throw up some very important and critical information regarding the ongoing investigation? Because investigators do believe that perhaps the chemistry lab in the Al-Falah University could have been used to produce this quantity of ammonium nitrate or even RDX.
Absolutely. See, yesterday I was told that 52 people from this, from this lab, they have been, interrogated. And Al-Falah University is now the center. It is the main center from where this network was working, including Dr. Sahin. He was working initially in Lucknow, then he was in Allahabad. Now she has shifted to, this area. And he is the kingpin. His own younger brother is also involved. I think, there was a raid yesterday and they've got a lot of mobile phone and literature.
Yes.
And he was in touch with the handlers.
Yes.
So, and that is and Dr. Sahin, I think she is the kingpin, and she had got linkages with Jamaat ul Muminiyat, which is now of the Jaise Muhammad, the female, women brigade, which they have.
So before I let you go, before I quickly let you go, Major General Sinha, the role that women are playing in the current terror ecosystem that India is confronted with, I want to quickly have your word in on that. Is this the new resurgent face of Jaish and ISIS together, the Women Brigade?
The Women Brigade, see, why Pakistan or Jaise Muhammad has started with the two sisters, Sadia Ajar and Samira Ajar. They are the sister, the elder sister. She was actually killed during that strike. And he has given it back, to women, because women today are much more, they are radicalized. I'm talking about the Islamic in the world today. The women are much more radicalized.
Okay.
And they can do, because their determination, they are not distracted with other things. So they are more dangerous, and they are having, getting the wing in India.